1981 film The Howling is without question one of the most interesting werewolf films that came out back in the 1980s. Is this a perfect werewolf film? It's not. It has some issues, but I will say it is very enjoyable for what it is. Directed by Joe Dante, this film is based on a novel of the same name, and it follows a television newswoman. She's sent to a remote mountain resort as she had a near-fatal incident with a serial killer, unaware that the resort residents are werewolves. I have to say, watching this film for the first time, I was generally impressed with what went on in this film. I mean, the story was good, the acting was good, and the music was very enjoyable. It had that orchestra type music which made it very creepy. You know what's interesting? This came out the same year as An American Werewolf in London. In fact, all throughout the 80s, werewolves were popular in movies. And not just that though, but I think this story was interesting for what it was. You see Eddie, he's playing the main werewolf in this film. And the transformation scene near the end, wow, impressive. What I have to say though, as impressive as that transformation scene is, I think the transformation in American Werewolf in London was done better. Nonetheless though, the special effects, they were great for the time this film came out. And this film was very good for trying to point out, the whole werewolf thing. There's a pack of werewolves in this film. They walk upright. Silver bullets can't kill them. And they can transform at will. I found that very interesting. This being a totally different werewolf lore compared to American Werewolf in London. This is certainly a very fascinating film. And if you're a fan of werewolf movies and you haven't seen this one, I would suggest you check this one out because I believe it's worth your time. Rick Baker was originally going to be the makeup artist for this film, but he left to go do that for An American Werewolf in London. What's also interesting, this film also won a Saturn Award for Best Horror Film. And not just that, the legacy of this film speaks for itself. After finally seeing this movie, I gotta say, I was impressed with the werewolf lore, the story, the characters. Characters such as Karen, played by Dee Wallace. Her character was interesting. It's not the best character development I've seen in a movie, but it's intriguing for what it is. And also, you have the late Elizabeth Brooks as Marsha. What's interesting about that role, she didn't have many lines. She played this seductive werewolf. And, it worked. In fact, this whole movie spawned a franchise that still, I don't know if it still runs today, but it has many sequels. One thing I would say is that this is a film that is regarded for pretty much paving the way for later werewolf movies that came out that decade. And it is very entertaining, to say the least. I'm giving this film a 7 out of 10. As entertaining this movie is, I can't put it above werewolf films I have seen. Simply because of, I wanted to see more of this werewolf lore. I mean, we don't get a whole lot of it, but it's enough to keep you engaged in the film. I don't find this movie boring at all. The acting was done real well by everybody in this film. Now, granted, this werewolf film, it is iconic for what it is today. This is certainly one of the best werewolf films that came out during that decade. And that's my review of the 1981 film, The Howling. Okay, leave your comments down below in the section and let me know what you think about this film if you have seen it. Alright, this is Slum Guy 172 saying, peace out.